Welcome everybody to another episode of Fins Nation. I am your host, Louis Sung, and today we're going to be discussing something that I really feel like is a situation that the Dolphins need to resolve if they are going to continue to have long-term success in the NFL. I feel like this is something that can be corrected with experience and maybe some time. Hopefully it will, but we also have to consider the possibility that this is just a part of the Mike McDaniel experience, and we may have to just go ahead and learn to accept it for better or worse. I'm going to get into exactly what that is in just one moment, but before that, really quick, just want to go ahead and mention that, as always, this show is brought to you by our good friends over at PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks.com is the revolutionary fantasy platform where you can now pick up to 6 different players across professional sports leagues. Whether that's the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, one of each, it's up to you to decide. Just choose whether your chosen player will get more or less in their projected stat. They give you free squares, special Taco Tuesday promos, Flex Friday specials where you can get your money back if you lose, or multiply the amount of money you can normally win. So with offers like that, it's hard to justify not signing up if you are any kind of a fantasy sports fan. So use the promo code FIVE, that's F-I-V-E, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. Again, that's promo code FIVE, F-I-V-E. Go to prizepicks.com, deposit your $100, and let PrizePicks give you $100 of their dollars for you to play with, and get started winning today. This show is now also affiliate sponsored by my Nintendo store. Let's face it, folks, we're all gamers at heart, and Nintendo's been there for us for nearly 50 years, creating all-time classics that are remembered by every generation growing up. And right now, they have special deals going on for what are sure to be more top-selling games in Nintendo's endlessly long lineup. For instance, Super Mario RPG, a classic from the days of the Nintendo 64, has been completely remastered from the ground up and is now out as of November 17th for new audiences to enjoy Mario's first ever RPG adventure. And also out right now is Super Mario Bros. Wonder, the Mario Bros. Latest completely new game that is already receiving rave reviews from both critics and actual gamers alike. Just click the links in the description of this YouTube video below to order either of these awesome titles, and you'll be receiving bonus items upon making your purchase. My Nintendo Store, your best and quickest gateway to the world of Nintendo. Alright, so before I get into the negative aspect of what it is I have to say, first I want to just infuse some positivity into all this. First, since Thanksgiving is coming up shortly, I want to make sure that I can express my gratitude that I am able to see a Miami Dolphins football team that is at the top of their game, that is doing a fantastic job with where their record is standing right now. They are firmly in first place in the AFC East, in spite of the fact that right now, as I'm recording this, the Buffalo Bills are trouncing the New York Jets in Buffalo. So I think that the Jets, but mind you, even before the game started, Dolphins were already a game and a half above the Buffalo Bills. So now they just sit once again at a game and a half over the Buffalo Bills after they beat up the Jets. Which, by the way, the Dolphins face the Jets coming up next, and I will discuss a little bit about what that means to me in just a moment. So here's the thing, though. The Dolphins have done a fantastic job on defense as of late. I need to go ahead and give credit to Vic Fangio. As much as I've been critical of him on this show and every other show on the 5 Reasons Sports Network for so long, I just said that I just needed to see him get things fixed. And ever since the return of Jalen Ramsey, things have not only been fixed, they have quickly become one of the best things about this team. This defense is phenomenal. They have not allowed more than 20 points of offensive scoring for the past 3 games, and that includes, again, the Kansas City Chiefs. The only reason the Chiefs won is because they had a defensive touchdown thanks to Tyreek Hill having a fumble problem, and they just ran that in for a touchdown. The Kansas City Chiefs, after they scored their 2 touchdowns, did not score again the entire rest of the game. They just didn't. And so that is a huge credit to what the defense has done, and I give credit to Vic Fangio for what he's done. I really didn't want to believe that the missing piece to the point where it was like night and day would be Jalen Ramsey. I did not want to believe that this team needed Jalen Ramsey so badly that without him, the defense was maybe, I don't want to say it was bottom tier of the NFL, but there were some problems, and it was clearly showing. Kader Kohu and Nick Needham, who also came back at pretty much the same time as Jalen Ramsey, there were some issues there that needed to be fixed. Jalen Ramsey has fixed them in spades. He has played in 3 games, and he has now 3 interceptions. 2 of them were against the Raiders. Poor Aiden O'Connell. I don't know what he was doing. He was just basically begging not to have to throw in Jalen Ramsey's direction, because it seemed like every time he did, bad things would happen for him. So Jalen Ramsey continues to be a superstar player. And his presence makes such a difference for that defense that now the Dolphins are officially a top 10 defense, in my opinion, which is good because that's going to be a major help because right now the New York Jets, their offense is abysmal. There is no doubt about that. It is putrid. It is basically every word that you can think of. As I am recording this, the Jets benched Zach Wilson for their backup, Tim Boyle. And by the way, Tim Boyle has not done any better. As a matter of fact, you could argue he's doing worse. So with this level of defense that's available to the Dolphins, if they can continue this trend of getting better and better and having more and more health included, because again, Jalen Ramsey is healthy, which is good. There was a slight scare against the Raiders at the very end there when he made the game-sealing interception, but all that really happened was that he got the wind knocked out of him. So crisis averted on that front. Xavier Howard seems to be okay. There's no injuries to Jalen Phillips that we heard of, nothing about Bradley Chubb. Christian Wilkins and Zach Sealer continue to be Iron Men for these Dolphins. As far as everything goes in the secondary, Javon Holland had some big plays. Kader Kohu continues to make big plays. This defense is phenomenal. It is, quite frankly, I feel like by the time the year is over, it will be considered a top 5 defense in the NFL. At the very least right now, I feel like they're top 10. But now here's where the problem is. The Dolphins offense had another off game. An off game. I'm not saying it was a bad game. Obviously, it wasn't a bad game. The Dolphins won. They scored 20 points. So that's 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals. And by the way, those field goals, Jason Sanders, 2 out of 3 isn't bad, I guess. But the fact that, once again, the first one that he missed was a 50-yarder. He made a 51-yarder later in the game. I don't know why he's so unreliable at this point. There was a stat that came out saying that Jason Sanders is the most accurate kicker in Miami Dolphins history. And I'm thinking to myself, is it just for lack of volume that is the case? You're telling me that guys like Alindo Mare and Pete Stoyanovich, who I remember very fondly as being really, really good kickers from the Miami Dolphins in their history, and all of a sudden here comes Jason Sanders and he's the best guy that the Dolphins have ever had as a kicker? It's very difficult to fathom. But nevertheless, a stat is a stat. Good for Jason Sanders, and he did kick 2 out of the 3 field goals, so what was really shocking to me was that they were even willing to kick that many field goals in the first place. Usually the Dolphins wouldn't even bother with that, but I guess they just didn't have enough faith in their offense that day, or more likely they just wanted to go ahead and give Jason Sanders the opportunity to get some of his confidence back. That's probably the more likely scenario there. So here's the problem, though, and this is where I start to have concerns with the Miami Dolphins offense in the sense that the play calling is making me raise my eyebrow a little bit at Mike McDaniel. And I don't know if this is just his personality, this is who he is, this is something that we're just going to have to accept as being part of the Mike McDaniel ride that we're on, or if this is just his lack of experience and not realizing that sometimes the old ways are not necessarily needing to be replaced. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. Sometimes it's just good to do some good old-fashioned, hard-nosed, traditional football and go down in there and get that first down. Let me break it down for you real quick. During the Raiders game, the Miami Dolphins were 3 for 11 on third down conversions. So 3 for 11, that is not good. That means out of the 11 attempts, let me just basic math, anybody can do this. 8 of the 11 attempts ended up in failure on third down versus the Raiders. Now, I am going to classify third and short as anything less than or equal to 3rd and 4, okay? So anything below 5 yards, I'm considering third and short. Here's just a brief rundown of what plays the Miami Dolphins ran on 3rd and short against the Las Vegas Raiders. In the first quarter, the very first drive of the game, by the way, 3rd and 4, Tua ends up scrambling, he fumbles, the Raiders recover, and they get a field goal out of that. So that one you can't technically say is a run. Tua had to scramble for it. But either way, it was still intended to be a pass play. It wasn't until the third quarter that the Dolphins ended up getting into some more third and short situations. Most of them up until that point had been third and long, which at that point I can understand needing to throw the football. But it ties into the bigger issue here. So third quarter, 3rd and 2, Tua throws to Jalen Waddle, and it's complete for 19 yards. Okay, it worked that time. Great. One of the few times that it actually worked for the Dolphins. 1 out of 3 that it actually worked. In the third quarter, and now here's the kicker, the same drive on both 2nd and 1 and 3rd and 1, Tua throws incomplete on both passes. So 3rd and 1, they decided to, instead of run the football, try to get that extra yard that they needed, they decided instead to just pass it, and it failed. Finally, in the fourth quarter, on 3rd and 4, Tua throws incomplete yet again. There was not a single 3rd and short situation where the Dolphins decided, let's go ahead and just try to run the football with Raheem Mostert. Now, I will give them this. Raheem Mostert did not have himself a superstar level kind of game. I understand that. Robert Hunt is not in. It is Liam Eichenberg in his place instead. Durham Smythe was out with a reported ankle injury. So all of that is going to have an effect on the Miami Dolphins' ability to run the football. I get it. I really do. But here is my problem. Even if he hasn't been getting a lot of yards at a time, Raheem Mostert, throughout the game, he carried the ball 22 times for 86 yards, averaging 3.9 yards a carry. That's only 0.1 yard less than being 4 yards a carry. That's per attempt. So why would you think, as a Dolphins fan, why would the Dolphins not decide to, at the very least on 3rd and 1, at the least 3rd and 1, that you would not be able to go ahead and let the Dolphins try to run the ball for a first down? Instead, it always has to be some weird, cheap gimmick. There was a player coming in motion around the edge just to be able to make it so that it's a fake run so that we could throw a screen pass to Tyreek Hill, which the defense immediately sniffed out and just basically ruined any chances of that being completed for a first down. Those sorts of plays, sometimes they work, and then we call Mike McDaniel a genius. But a lot of times, and especially lately, it seems that teams have caught on to exactly what it is that the Dolphins want to do in these situations, and they're just able to come up with it. In trying to be unpredictable, Mike McDaniel has become predictable. And this is something that he has to fix. He just has to. He has to have faith in his running game to be able to get those short yardage situations. And this is something that has plagued him ever since last season too. Whenever it comes down to short yard situations, Mike McDaniel, I don't know if he's just outthinking himself, trying to come up with some clever way of getting the first down. It's not working for them. I'm just going to go ahead and give you this number as well. As of right now, the Miami Dolphins are ranked 16th overall as of 11/19/2023 in third down conversion percentage. They are sitting right now at 39.58% at getting third down conversions. So at home, the Dolphins have converted on 45%. This is rounding down. 45% of their third down conversions. And if we're going to round up for this one, because this is just how basic decimals work, away, the Dolphins are 35% in converting third down percentage. So that's not the best. Now, I will say, the best team at converting on third down, this should honestly come as a surprise to no one. The Philadelphia Eagles currently at 50%. The Buffalo Bills at 49%, and a lot of that comes from just having really athletic quarterbacks who, whether it's third and long or third and short, can completely short-circuit a defense by taking off and running for themselves and getting that done. It's very easy for teams that are successful get on third downs to be able to say, oh, well, they usually have a quarterback that can run and take off. That helps a lot. Tua almost got into that percentage, but he fumbled on third down, which was unfortunate. I appreciated the attempt that he made to be able to run with the football, and had he not fumbled, that would have been a first down for the Dolphins. So I'm going to go ahead and give him credit for getting that accomplished. It's just sad that it didn't work out for them. But here is where my concern comes in, and this is shades of exactly what I was saying early on in the season, where it felt like Mike McDaniel just really wanted to throw the football with Tua Tagovailoa and get the ball to Tyreek Hill over and over and over again. And I said the same thing then, too. Who can blame him? Tua and Tyreek are by far the NFL's best tandem as far as the quarterback-wide receiver duo. Just as a quick reminder for everybody, Tua Tagovailoa against the Raiders, 28 of 39 for 325 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and that was a miscommunication between him and Jalen Waddle deep down the field. So I get it. It's not so much a Tua made a mistake thing as there was just a short circuit somewhere and they needed to try to get that fixed. And as for Tyreek Hill, 10 catches, 146 yards, and a touchdown. Again, phenomenal numbers for Tyreek Hill. He is well on pace to getting his 2,000-yard season that he wanted. So I am by far not upset with the effectiveness of the passing game. I am obviously very happy with how things go. It's always very exciting to see Tua carve up a defense. But the problem is that when you cannot count on your running game to at least get those short yardage situations, I don't know what it is about the Dolphins that they always feel like they need to take the big chunk play every single time. Sometimes it's just good to move the sticks, get a quick first down, use Raheem Mostert, who's been there was not a play that I can remember, not having watched the game over again, where he actually ended up getting stopped in the backfield. So why, on those short 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 situations, would you not be willing to go ahead and just give it a try, let Raheem Mostert run the football, and get in there? Is it because this mindset of, well, this is what normal teams do on a regular basis, so they're going to stack the box and they're going to find a way to make sure that Raheem Mostert doesn't get that yardage? Is it a lack of faith in your offensive linemen to be able to get the necessary push? If that is indeed the case, I can understand where he's coming from. Because as much as we want to credit Butch Berry for doing a fantastic job with these backups and making them serviceable in pass protection, which they have been, and again, credit to Austin Jackson as well. He has done an incredible job. He was able to slow down Maxx Crosby. Aside from that one sack that he was credited with, he was basically a non-factor all game long, at least the first time you watch it on paper. So kudos to Austin Jackson. But Lester Cotton and Liam Eichenberg, those two guys just don't have the necessary athleticism to be able to run the running game the way that the Dolphins want to. It is just not going to cut it. They need Isaiah Wynn back. They definitely need Robert Hunt back. Once they get that back, I think there's going to be more faith in the running game to be able to get those runs. Devon Achane went out early with a knee injury, and again, I feel like this is more of a precautionary thing. Mike McDaniel even said during the press conference that, yeah, he could have gone in if we wanted him to, but ultimately we decided not to because I get where he's coming from. This is a marathon, not a sprint. It seems plainly obvious right now as Miami is sitting at 7-3 that the playoffs are basically an inevitability at this point, and it feels really good to be able to say that it is inevitable that the Dolphins will make the playoffs. Again, knock on wood, as long as Tua remains healthy, everything's going to work out. But if anything happens to him, obviously we know what happens. But that's neither here nor there. The problem that I have is that Mike McDaniel just seems to find reasons not to run the football on 3rd and short. He always does something weird. He always does something funky. And this is something that I am hoping with all my heart and soul that with experience, with time, he will learn that, you know what, maybe it's not necessarily a bad thing to be able to just give your running back the football on 3rd and short and say, go get me that first down. You can always try again on 4th and 1. It's not like the Dolphins have shown any type of shyness when it comes to those 4th down situations. They are probably one of the most aggressive teams on 4th down as it is. So with that in mind, I hope that as time passes and as the offensive line gets healthy and maybe they find new and better offensive linemen down the line. I would love if somewhere down the line the Dolphins drafted another offensive lineman, maybe a first rounder, and he ends up being the left guard of the future for the Dolphins because Dolphins are not going to be able to move on from Teron Armstead just yet. And I'm pretty sure that they will try to retain Kendall Lamb after the performance that he's put on this season. As for Austin Jackson, maybe a short extension for him, maybe keep him going. Robert Hunt needs to come back also, by the way. That is imperative for the Dolphins to have long-term success. He's the best guard the Dolphins have had, probably since Richie Incognito at this point. Once again, this offense knows what to do. It knows how to get things done. They can score at will, it feels like. It's just these little tiny things, these little things of execution that end up stopping them in their tracks. And once they clean that up, there will be no stopping this team because the defense is solid, it's on point, and if you can just score a touchdown every single time, you don't have to worry about Jason Sanders missing field goals. That was kind of what happened against the Raiders. They couldn't score the touchdown, so they had to put it in the hands, or I should say the legs, of the shaky Jason Sanders. So everything else, though, good to go. Really happy about it. Let's see where we go from here. The Jets are next. The Jets defense is legit. Their offense is putrid. So all we have to do is just score a few points against the Jets, and we will be good to go. So all we have to do is just get to that point. That's going to be it for this show. Thank you all so much for listening. If you have not already done so, make sure you go to prizepicks.com, use the promo code 5, that's F-I-V-E, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. Get the promo code 5, F-I-V-E, prizepicks.com, the best place to go for your daily fantasy needs. And of course, make sure you go over to My Nintendo Store, click on the links in the description below, and you will get bonus items when you make the purchase of either Super Mario Bros. Wonder or Super Mario RPG. Both games are out right now relive your childhood with Super Mario RPG or show it to your kids, or maybe even check out Super Mario Bros. Wonder, the brand new game that is already getting rave reviews from gamers and critics alike. If both people can come united on that front, because we know how game journalists can be sometimes they're not even particularly good at the games they are playing, but if they like it and gamers like it, then you know that you're in the right place. So make sure you click the links in the description below and you'll be getting bonus items for making those purchases. We will see you all Tuesday for Pulse of Fins Nation, and then Wednesday morning for another episode of Fins Nation.